Okay, so we're up on the ceiling working on this self-contained Kolpak unit. I was here last time and I was getting all kinds of hits in a leak detector in this condensate pan here, and you can see that's all oil. And you can see here, that's the original copper pipe that was in there, and that's the discharge line from the compressor. What that does, obviously hot, it evaporates the water, and what ends up happening is obviously the copper gets all scaly and starts to leak. So what I did is I actually cut it out completely. So I went right off the discharge line of the compressor directly to the condenser coil, put in a new dryer and a glass, and actually put in a drill a hole in the pan here and put in a 2-oval condensate pump that is wired into the contactor here. I actually have to move this electrical line, just put it in there temporarily. I got to put it in the back. I don't know why I didn't do it that day I was here. But what we also noticed is, and what we're doing today, is the evaporator itself in here is leaking. See all this? All this here? That's oil. So what we're doing today is replacing this condenser coil. So this unit's been refilled last week, so we should have plenty of refrigerant in it. It's obviously a slow leak. I was getting it with my electronic leak detector, but I really couldn't pinpoint it with my bubbles, which means that more than likely it's in these coil bends that kind of look nasty in there. So what we're doing right now, let me put you down, is I'm gonna come over here to the king valve, since our sight glass is still pretty clear. You get a tiny bubble in there, but 404 is getting expensive now, so we're not going to discharge this unit, or we're not going to recover it. What we're going to do, since everything that we're going to be working on is after this king valve, is we're just going to pump it down. And for whatever reason on this unit, it's the first I've ever seen of them, there's a actual Schrader pin in this king valve right here. So even with this thing back-seated, it's open to the lines. But we're going to put our head on here. See, we have pressure and we don't even have that valve open. There's our pressures right now. And we're going to front seat that valve and pump this unit down. And I'm not worried about fractionation because this unit was refilled, not, like I said, about a week ago. So right now, we're pumping down. And this does have a low pressure control on it. Looks like it just has a high, doesn't actually have a low pressure control. We're just gonna wait for this to pull down. Usually when you do this, your high side's still open to your line, but I guess on this one, it's not. So that means I can vacuum directly from that port, and I don't need to do anything about it. All right, so we're pumped down there, and we're just gonna shut her off. And there we go. So all our refrigerant is now stored in this receiver, and basically from the compressor through this line, condenser and receiver, all our refrigerant is in there. So now what we're gonna do, open this thing up. Let me get you a better angle and we'll start cutting this evapo. Okay, so we got these two lines cut. I don't know if you can see right here, this is the suction line. It's 3/8 that they then it's actually 5/8 that they reduced down to 3/8 out there. And I don't want to use any of this lines that are in here just because they're just as rotted as the rest of the copper. Also, you can see that that inlet there right here is 1/2 inch that they just put a piece of 3/8 in there and just kind of braised that on. That's factory. So I have a reducer for that in a piece of 1/2 inch. Even this brace joint right here, that's factory. That's off the expansion valve. So this is 1/2 inch. You just sleeve the piece of 3/8 in there and braise it in, drips and all. I also figured out why that there was no cover on this is this time clock was added at some point and it's up beyond the level of the electrical cover. So I think that's why I kind of just threw this in there. I figured I would redo that when I came back. I might be able to move that down. We'll see. I can't even find the cover for that electrical panel up here, to be honest with you. So right now what we have, everything is cut. All these are unscrewed. But we have those electrical wires that go through a grommet right there. So rather than cutting and splicing them, we're coming back, following them back, and they go into this contactor right here. And they're plugged in right on the top. So this black, this red, and this ground right here. One second. Ready? So I did everything right. Should knock that over. Grab here, and she should come right out. Wiggle, wiggle. Is there anything else on this? That's because my refrigerant lines are stuck. Now I think I got it. Should be able to. There we go. And now you can really see all this oil and muck in here. So I'm going to wipe it all out with a rag, clean all that stuff out of there, and then we'll get some stubs on the new coil and get her up here. Alright, so here's the old one. You see how corroded that is. And here's my new one with my 2 stubs. So we'll just plug those. And some caps. And then we'll put it back in place. Okay, so it's going to connect these 2 joints, and yes, I am soft solder and I'm using Stay-Brite. I know some people don't like it. I like it. I haven't had an issue with it. I'm still going to use it until I have an issue with it. It's been 22 years and I haven't yet. Okay, so let those cool down, solidify, and then we'll wipe them off once they're cool with the wet cloth to get the residual flux off so it doesn't turn green. And this Armor Flux will come back and cover that pipe. And I have some sticky stuff in the truck. I can kind of go over that way. In the meantime, we're going to change out the filter dryer, which is just 2 flare nuts, and we're going to vacuum it. I'm going to see if I can neaten up that electrical panel a little bit. Oh, and we have to mount the expansion valve bulb. So the expansion valve bulb is right here. So we just have a pipe clamp, and it's going to clamp to that suction line right down in there. Alright, everything's just about all set, so we vacuumed everything, and I was actually able to move this time clock down and find the cover to the electrical, so now the electrical cover will fit on that, and put my wiring in through the back. This top cover here, I'll just have to slide out and get rid of it, because this is in a ceiling, so it's really hot, so I don't want this cover on it. Alright, now what we got to do is open up the king valve here, let the refrigerant through, turn it on, and see if we're still full. We might have to top it off a little bit. Alrighty, flip the switch. Alright, there's a time delay on the digital temperature control. That's right here that you might not be able to see. There's a time delay on that. Both fans are on. My wiring's all back in place. My bulb is mounted and insulated, and I re-insulated those lines there. I'm just going to wait for that to turn on, and we'll check out the sight glass in the meantime when we get this top cover for the evap on, so we can get proper pressures. Alright, so now we're running. Here's our new dryer. Our sight glass is bubbling a little bit. I'm going to let it run a little bit because it's going to hunt. And then we'll top it off. The reason why this is low now, but it wasn't really bubbling before, there's 2 reasons. One, it's warmer in the box now. Number 2 is no matter what, unless you have a valve on the suction line, you're gonna lose a little bit of refrigerant through the compressor valves. They don't seal 100%. Or at least I've found sometimes either the king valve leaks by a little bit, or the compressor valve might just barely leak by. But you can see there, we're almost full. So what we'll do is my refrigerant tank is hooked up. Pressure wise, let me see if I can get everything in frame at the same time. So pressure wise, my low is at 65-70, and my head pressure is at 230, which is perfectly fine. Purge my hose here, and we'll just add a little bit in. So we're not going to go crazy when we add refrigerant in. We're just going to crack the valve and go about 10 to 15 psi above what we are, and let it throttle there, and then just fill up that sight glass. Shouldn't take too much. Alright, you can see it's starting to clear now. Go, and we're clear. So we can charge by the sight glass because we have both an expansion valve and a receiver, and the sight glass is always after the dryer. All right, so you can see that it just bubbled a little bit again, and now it refilled. So what that's doing is called hunting. So that expansion valve bulb is getting cold and then warm and then cold and then warm, and is allowing the piston inside to move up and down, which is giving me bubbles and clear, then bubbles and clear. So we'll let this run for about 15 minutes or so, and then it should even out, but it should be pretty much full. We'll double check it in about 10-15 minutes. I want to make sure that the box gets down to the 40s, and then we're done here. Clean up my mess, and we're off to the next call.